Hey, what's up, everybody? It's BDF44 coming at you with another video. Okay, I got a random topic for you. I'm sure you guys have seen 1.5 million rumor videos about where the Lakers, what the Lakers could get and who the Lakers can get. And I just have another one of those videos to offer you today. As a Laker fan, I can kind of give you an understanding of my team a little better than maybe I can some other squads. So my intention is to kind of focus in on them here and there, as I always have. So this is that: Russell Westbrook or Cp3 for my Los Angeles Lakers. Which one would I rather have? Now, I'm not working in their contracts into the equation. I don't know if they're the same. I would imagine they're somewhat the same. I don't know if the years left on them are similar or not. So I'm just kind of assuming that it would take a similar package to get either player. Just looking at it that way. I don't think either of them have more value than Dame. So just kind of looking at it from that perspective. We'll see what happens. So for me personally, first of all, I would rather not trade for either one of these two guys, to be completely honest with you. I'd rather not. I do see the fruit in acquiring them. See, that's a different conversation. But I would rather not give up anything substantial for either one of them. And the reason why is for two different reasons. CP3, the reason is I know he's going to be looking to get paid. And we would have to give up substantial amount of cap to him or taking on that contract or what have you. And I do understand for a fact that he can't affect the defense in a positive way at this stage in his career. We just saw that in these finals. He doesn't push the pace. He's not youthful. He can still give you big games, and he can certainly help run an offense. He can certainly make your team infinitely better, especially if you have young talent that he can work with and mentor, because he's excelled in those areas tremendously. And I think because of it, he'll be considered for coaching jobs maybe quicker than some others, just because of what we've seen over these last 2 years. But I think this environment is a bit different. It's a win now environment, of course, just like the one he's leaving or staying with. Hey, I'm not saying he's leaving the Suns for sure, but I'm just saying for the sake of what we're talking about. This is a win now situation, but it has more vets on it. Obviously, we would have more experience on our team than the one he's leaving, to say the least. So he would be in a position to have another shot at it. I just think that he would then be a liability. See, what we wouldn't really need is what he does, which is set people up. What we would want him to do is just hit shots, be a fantastic free throw shooter, mid-range shooter, do the things that he does from a scoring perspective. But you don't want to pay his price for that. You can get that offense out of a much lesser valued player and still be able to build more so around LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Our center position is very important, as well as our point guard position. We want to establish that. But there are other holes in our situation. What you don't do is bring on a guy like Chris Paul, who doesn't affect enough of the defensive end of the ball, who doesn't you don't get the most out of offensively, because LeBron James is doing the setting people up. So it's sort of like you're not getting the most out of Chris Paul for the price you're paying. And you're going to have defensive liability issues with your guard spot if you bring him in. So I just don't like that. Couple that with the lack of energy that I saw in these previous games. The jitterbugs kind of got the best of him here and there. He was turning the ball over in some unforced situations, stuff like that. I'm just at a point where I'm like, I like Chris Paul a lot, but not at his price. If we're bringing him in, he could certainly be a starter. I'm not an idiot. But I like the idea of having someone behind him that could start too. Someone who could just kind of slip in if Father Time takes over, if injury starts taking over, just like they have in Phoenix with Campaign. You would want something like that on your team as well here in the Lakers. So I know we would be giving up quite a bit to get him. Probably Caruso and players like that we would probably not have next year, and that's not a good thing when considering what you would need at the point guard position behind Chris Paul. So, excuse me. Moving on to Russell Westbrook. Again, another player that I don't want to bring in a trade for. I don't want to trade for him because you would be giving up quite a bit to bring him in. And even though he doesn't have some of the problems that Chris Paul may have, his motor is super high. I think he's a bit more effective defensively because of his ability to move a little quicker, stronger body, much better rebounder, So he's going to provide different things. Your pace is going to be much, much faster with him. So for me, it's like what I want to do in regards to Russell Westbrook is make sure that he has shooters around him. More so than Chris Paul needs shooters, Westbrook needs shooters, because Westbrook is not going to shoot the ball at a high clip. Well, he'll shoot at a high clip. He ain't going to make them at a high percentage. So you want to kind of supplement that with players that are very, very efficient shooting the ball. He's not as good a free throw shooter, obviously, as Chris Paul. So you're going to deal with that type of efficiency issue, so on and so forth. So for me, the fit is a bit funny because of his lack of a shooting ability, because of the fact that AD is a player who is big but likes to play kind of like around the perimeter at times, kind of like to find himself outside of the paint. It could be a weird dynamic with him and Westbrook, being that Westbrook doesn't really shoot the ball. He's not reluctant to take them, but it's just not gonna connect as much. And then him and LeBron James, I think, is an interesting fit. Slash into the basket. Obviously, you're not gonna find a much better fast break between two vets like LeBron James and Russell Westbrook. That'll be fun to watch every single night. I think in the playoffs, when you have that type of energy with LeBron James, you're kind of gonna will yourself to a lot of victories and be in a position to sit LeBron a little more, rest him a little more, because guys like Russell Westbrook are going to continue to have their type of energy at all times. It doesn't matter. He doesn't need LeBron James to be on the floor. He just needs Anthony Davis, and he could win. He could lead his team to the playoffs. I think. I do believe if for some reason LeBron James were to go down, depending on how the rest of the roster feels out, I would feel okay with Russell Westbrook and Anthony Davis holding us down until Bron gets back. I don't think we could win that way as far as a championship or nothing, but I do believe if we have the right role players, the right set of players around those guys, we can weather the storm of an injury like that. The problem is, can you weather the storm of an AD injury? And that should be the most important thing the Lakers pay attention to this offseason, aside from making sure we have more shooting. I don't think getting a point guard in here who's going to kind of just be a big name, but more so be more of fighting father time, I don't think that that's really the way to go. I understand you want to bring in somebody who's a veteran who can kind of, see LeBron James eye to eye and somebody he could trust, like Rondo, like he did last year with that dynamic. So I can see us going a little older, but I don't think we should just be looking for old players to just slap onto this team, especially at high prices. That's just not a good way to build with limited cap. If we're going to get a max player, let it be a Dame Lillard. Let it be somebody a little bit younger that we can trust is going to stick around past LeBron James' tenure. Not somebody who's going to retire at the same time he does or even before. And that's what I see in Russell Westbrook and Chris Paul. So for me, would I love to bring those guys in? Most definitely. But not at the price that you have to pay for them. Not without building properly around them. So I don't see an opportunity to do that. So I'm not trading for either one of them if it's me. But I understand the interest in both of those guys, especially from a personal perspective with Chris Paul. LeBron James is probably pretty hurt that his boy didn't win a championship, and I know he wants to see him get one. I'm sure he would love to win one with him, and I'm pretty sure he thinks he can. But like I said, Chris Paul showed us a lot of limitations. And the one thing that I say about Chris Paul is you're going to live and die with his nerves. And sometimes his nerves get the best of him and ends up getting the best of his team too. And I just don't want to be on the wrong end of that. But he can certainly do a lot of good things. And as we've seen, he makes teams much better. And with Russell Westbrook, he has a lot left in the tank. He's come back this past season and showed us, that in the right situation, the right system, he can bounce back and still be an elite talent. And that's exactly what I saw, an all-star caliber player running around for the Washington Wizards, a much improved basketball team because of his presence. And he and Bradley Beal work seamlessly, so that gives you an understanding that what type of player he can work with going forward. A player with that type of skill set is something that goes well with him, and he could play off of. So, personally, if I'm Russell Westbrook, I'm not in a rush to get out of Washington. I found a home. I found a place that I like playing in. I like the atmosphere in terms of the basketball that I play with Bradley Beal. I'm pretty optimistic that they're going to make the playoffs next year if they continue to build on what it is that they had. They made some good trades in the mid-season at the trade deadline, brought themselves some bigs, some high-powered role players, and I think they still have an opportunity to draft here. I don't know where their draft pick situation is, but I'm pretty sure they're in the top 12. So at this point, I look at the Washington Wizards and say, Russell Westbrook doesn't fit everywhere. He seems to fit here. Maybe he shouldn't be so quick to leave. But can he win a championship there? Of course not. Of course not. So that's why it's ultimately probably on his mind to move on. But I think for the Lakers, you look for something else. You look for something else. If you can't bring in exactly what you want at the price you want, you move on, because at the end of the day, if you get stuck with the wrong third max star, you can render yourself completely out of the playoff hunt if injuries start kicking your butt, because you don't want a shallow basketball team or have holes all in your defense just so that you can bring a guy on for sentimental reasons. That's just a stupid decision, and that's kind of along the lines of what we'd be doing, to be completely honest with you. So that's what I got. My name is BDL44. Thank you all for watching.